So I might start off, everyone. So it's just coming up to 1:05. So look, the first thing I'd like to say is you're all very welcome to the talk here. Sean O'Rourke is my name. I'm coming to you live from Killarney, County Kerry, where it is extremely cold. It's about 1 degree here, but we don't have snow. Um, as you know, this talk is part of the Republic of Work's lunchtime learning series. It's something that's been running for a number of years now. It's my either second or third time doing it. I remember the first time doing it was in person up in the Republic of Work, which is as you probably know, it's a fantastic facility based in the centre of Cork on the South Mall there. And I remember giving the talk and seeing lots of people's faces in the audience, and how they were reacting, or they were able to ask questions quite easily. So it's certainly difficult doing this online, but I think, look, it's a good alternative. But I certainly look forward to being able to do another lunch and learn session in person, when we can do that again, hopefully maybe sometime before the end of the year. Just to finish off on Republic of Work, it's a co-working space based in Cork, and we've our main office is in Killarney. We have been basing our Cork office there for the last 2 years now, and I've been working up there 1 or 2 days a week. Unfortunately, not in recent times, but it's certainly it's a great facility. And just talking to Angie before the talk started there, we were saying that we missed the interaction of just meeting other people. Everyone in there is working, so everyone has a business brain, and it's great to even just have a casual chat, with someone in the lounge area or around the coffee machine, and you always pick up a business idea or a marketing idea. So I'm certainly looking forward to getting back into the space when things return to a little bit more normal. Um, just about myself. So just moving the slide along here. So look, as I say, my name is Sean O'Rourke. I'm a chartered accountant. I've been working in practice for the last 20 years. I did my training as a chartered accountant in Cork and the South Mall, so have a lot of connections with the city. But for about the last 12 years or so, I'm based in Killarney, which is my hometown, and we've got an accountancy practice here. The experience that I have so far, why am I here giving this talk? Really, I suppose the strange way to start off is that I shouldn't be an accountant. I've always been interested in technology. Growing up throughout school, I wanted to do computer science. I've always had an interest in computers and technology and watching the advances in computing over the years. But my old man was an accountant, and so I did business studies in Limerick, and then I studied chartered accountancy afterwards. And I've no regrets. But especially the last 10, maybe 8 to 10 years, I've seen the world of technology and the world of accounting they're coming together, and it's a really exciting time, if you can never use that word with accounting. But it is an exciting time because a lot of applications that are cheap, and they're software as a service, so you can sign up for a couple of months. They're making the mundane data entry work of accounting much easier. And they're also, on the other end of it, giving you great, easy to read information throughout the year on your business. And when you're choosing these applications and learning how to work with them, you need an interest in technology. So I believe that's given me a bit of an advantage over the last number of years, because it's been like a labor of love coming across all these applications, talking traditional clients into using them, hand-holding them with how to use this new piece of software and that sort of thing. But I've certainly, over the last number of years, see it pay dividends, because your business grows, you've more information on your business, and you make better business decisions. So that's where I'm coming from. You have a lot of experience. Many of our clients would be kind of small to medium-sized Irish companies from all walks of life, from your traditional sectors like retail, pubs, restaurants, hotels, based in Killarney here, obviously, so we have a lot of that area. And then we've got clients all over Ireland who are maybe in the tech space, a bit more maybe tech savvy, so they're quite comfortable with dealing with an accountant who isn't, on their doorstep. And they would be from engineering, graphic design, product design, manufacturing, all sorts of different industries. So what I'm going to talk about isn't, really relating to just one industry. It really does apply to any industry and any size. Once you're, even if you're a one person company, if you've got anything more than 20, 30 transactions a month, this is the way to go forward. This is how it's going to save you time and give you extra information. And I've been using cloud accounting this is our 10th year that we've started to go down this direction. So a lot of experience of what's worked and what hasn't worked. So I'd like to just start off by saying what today's primary objective is. And I think it's always good to get that mindset. And it's that I'm not here to just give you a list of apps that, oh, this works well, go off and try it, because you can find that out. You can with our friend Google, you can certainly find reviews on what apps do what and make your choices. I think the most maybe influential thing I can do for your business today is to try and make you realize the power of up-to-date financial information in your business. And if you realize that and you realize what you can do with it, then you'll be motivated to go back to step one and spend time finding the right applications, moving over from Excel onto these systems, learning how to use them, maybe bringing on other team members to learn how to use this piece of technology. And so if I could give you that end picture of what you will achieve by doing it, I think you will go out and you'll do the first few steps yourself. So that's my main goal for today, is to just make people realize just how powerful it is to having up-to-date financial information, and then how you get up-to-date financial information as well. Our firm's philosophy, I always like to start with this as well, because this is the way I live my life and I live my business life as well. If you look at our website, it's the first thing that you'll see. And it's a quote by Charles Darwin, that it's not the strongest that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And I'm throwing out this quote with years and talks that I've been doing, but I think it gets more and more relevant every year, particularly now that we're living in a COVID world at the moment. We've seen massive change in the way we work. Working from home has brought about 6 or 7 new applications to all of us. If you look at your desktop on your laptop or whatever, there's 5 or 6 new icons there that you didn't have 2 years ago, and you've got to learn how to use them. You've got to probably use a lot of them every day. Things like using Zoom or Teams or Slack or different pieces of communication tools. So I think being responsive to change is vital. It's going to be vital for the next couple of years in everyone's business, because COVID has touched everything, and I think it's going to leave permanent change in mindset amongst the people who buy our services, or maybe who buy our products if you're in business. So you need to be prepared to be responsive to change, because your customers are now. So the overview of the talk, there's 3 parts to the talk. I'll be finished before 1 o'clock. But what I propose to do is at the end of each part of the talk, I'll pause and give a chance for some questions. I know that Angie from Republic of Work is on. She'll be looking at the chat box. I'll have a look at it myself. So if you do have any questions, I'll go through them at the end of each part. So the first part I'm going to talk about is that change of my mindset, is really why you want to do this, before we get into the nitty-gritty of it and what it means to your business. The second part is the nitty-gritty. So we look at the applications that I recommend, and I'm going to have applications. I'm not going to have applications that might be good for your business. Each business is different, but I'll just give you the tools maybe that you need to go out and find those applications that will help your business. Certainly I can give advice around accounting systems and that, but there'll be other add-on pieces of software that will help your business as well. So we'll have a look at each of those applications and talk through them. And the last part of the talk then, which is like the zoomed out helicopter view of, when you have all this in place, what will it look like? What will you find yourself doing every week? What will you find yourself doing every month? So those are the 3 parts to the talk. As I say, I'll pause for questions at the end of each part. So look, I'll start off part 1. So why are we doing this? We're doing this because bookkeeping is a pain. We know that there is the business owner, you're a year or 2 in business. Our kitchen table looks like that every 2 months before the VAT deadline. It's the 17th, 18th of the month. You've got to get your VAT in by the 23rd of the month, and it's a painful process, and it's stressful, because the revenue in Ireland, like every other tax collection authority, have deadlines. They need deadlines. So you've got annual tax deadlines, you've got payroll deadlines, and you've got VAT deadlines. So when you need to keep your books up to date, you're constantly battling with deadlines, and that's a real pain point here. the things that cause us issues, and you'll be able to identify with this, and I certainly did before we started streamlining things, is the mundane tasks like manual data entry. We've all heard the jokes about accountants. We're synonymous with, not having personalities, being boring, etc. And it comes from the repetition in our work. You do the same thing month after month. You reconcile the bank, you repeat what you did the previous month. You do a VAT return every 2 months. You do a tax return every year. So it's repetition. And obviously that's not fun, because it's not something new. It's not a novel experience. So a lot of the repetition is around manual data entry, typing in your bank statement lines, typing in your purchase invoices, doing up your sales invoices. So that's a pain point. The deadlines, as I've mentioned, they're a constant source of stress, for business owners. No one wants to be late. No one wants to be on the radar of revenue for being late, and let you, which means you're possibly more likely for an audit and that. Also, traditional bookkeeping systems tend to be very paper-based. Invoices come in, okay, they may come in the post, and I've had lots of examples of maybe clients who come to us and they've been getting PDFs by email of their purchase invoices, but for some reason they print them all out. They give them a number and they stick them in a lever arch. The same thing as you would have done in the 90s. And I trying to talk about a move away from that. We should be creating a lot less paper with a good bookkeeping system. So scans of things should live inside your accounting system. There's certainly been an over-reliance on Excel. I think everyone is guilty of that. I always say that Excel is just a glorified, handwritten spreadsheet. It is prone to errors. It can, different cells can have mistakes in them. And I think that I've seen over the years, a lot of small mistakes and a handful of really big mistakes that are made by errors in Excel, because it's not a bespoke solution for what you're trying to do. Whereas a piece of accounting software is designed to handle debtors, handle creditors, and handle bank reconciliation. It's not just a blank canvas with cells in it. So I think, if you find yourself doing everything on Excel, you are going to leave yourself open to errors. You could be doing things much more efficiently. The other thing that as a pain point is often the disconnect between the accountant and the business owner. So it should always be a case that you're not just talking to your accountant once a year at the end of the year, because it's always too late if anything crops up. You really should be talking to your accountant at least once every quarter. But for that to be anyway beneficial, the accountant needs to know how your business is doing by looking at your figures. And if it's a case that you're not keeping your books up to date, then, if you ask your accountant for advice, they'll say, well, okay, how was your sales last month? What's your gross margins like? And if you can't tell and you really want advice, then you have to rush to put all the pieces of the accounts together, and then the accountant can look at it and then can give you advice. But if you have done your bite-sized bookkeeping, you're keeping it up to date, your accounting system is online in the cloud, your accountant can log into it. Maybe they need to journal and correct a couple of things, but by and large, your accounts will be in a decent state so that they can actually look at it and interpret how your business is going and give you advice. So that's another reason, is to just bring you and your accountant that bit closer. Another issue is just people have a general feeling for how the business is performing. I think there's nothing as stressful as that when you're maybe in a downturn or, in a pandemic. You need more accurate information than that, than just knowing how is my bank balance fluctuating. You need more data. You need to, more, as I say there, more than just a general feeling, oh, I'm not doing too bad, I got a few new customers last month, that's okay. You really need to know, well, how much am I making from those customers? What is my cost going to be next month? What if they take 90 days to pay me? How does that affect my business? So all these things are the pain points for a bookkeeping system. And this slide here, I'm just going to go through a couple of points and to try and make the case for it's worth the investment initially in these new systems, and the ongoing investment in a couple of hours every week to keep things up to date, rather than 10 hours at the end of every month or every 2 months, or worse still, at the end of every year, to just throw everything together. So this is what you gain by it, right? I think bookkeeping is not a low value necessary evil. I think the accounting profession has been guilty for years of undervaluing bookkeeping. Some firms tend to look down their nose at bookkeeping. They say, oh, look, get this freelance bookkeeper in to do the work, and look, come to us at the end of the year, then we'll fix it up, sort of thing. And I don't think that works anymore. There are great bookkeepers out there who or maybe the business owner themselves can keep things up to date with bookkeeping, and then the accountant can talk throughout the year, not just at the end of the year. So there's a bit of a mindset change there as to value the work of bookkeeping. I have always viewed it as the foundation. You build your accounts on top of what's there in the bookkeeping. Um, and year-end accounts, let's face it, I think even with the most organized business owner and an accountant, if you're not on a good accounting system, it's 3, 4, 5 months after your year end that you've got your year end accounts. So most people's year end is December. If you don't have a decent accounting system, you're looking at April or May at the earliest before you've got your year-end figures, and that's a huge gulf of time in the world that's moving faster than it has ever moved before. What you really need is, yes, maybe not perfect year-end accounts, but a set of what we call management accounts, which is roughly accurate accounts. It hasn't taken 20 or 30 hours to go through the accounts and correct every small amount like you would do in your year-end return. Um, you're talking about a broadly correct profit and loss account, gross margin analysis, and KPIs based maybe 3, 4 weeks after your year end. So, we certainly would have been on to clients, and organized clients would have been on to us, second, third week in January, saying, just waiting on a couple more bits and pieces. I should have them all in the accounting system. Would love to see how last year was, So that's what you can do. Your year-end accounts, look, as I say here, it's really only for the taxman, or mostly for the taxman. It doesn't really give you a huge insight and timely insight into your business. The second thing is the value of KPIs, which is key performance indicators, and quarterly management accounts for the business. I do think myself, for small businesses, I don't believe in monthly management accounts. I think they're too regular. I think that it's too much effort. It might take 2 weeks after the end of the month to get your monthly accounts, and then you're halfway to the next month. I think quarterly management accounts are the way to go. See what your profit and loss is for that quarter. Again, it could be a couple of grand up, a couple of grand down, but it's roughly right. Your KPIs should be monthly though, and you need to look at your business and decide, well, what are the key performance indicators of my business? So things like gross margin. So if you're involved in hospitality, for example, the gross margin of your restaurant or your cafe is very important. The gross margin being your sales, take off your food purchases, that gives you your gross profit. And decent restaurants should be achieving in the high 60%. So what I mean by that is that 60% after paying for your food and drink, you have 60% of your sales left over to cover all your other overheads. And that's a very good metric that you can compare different sizes of restaurants with. There's different metrics for cafes. Cafes, you'd like to be up to 70-75% of your income left over to cover your overheads as well. But of course, the turnover of cafes are less because what they're selling is less value. So a gross margin of your business is very important if you're selling products. A wage percentage, and what that is your wages as a percentage of your sales. And again, you should know what that's like. If you had a good year 2 years ago, and you made decent profits, what was your wage percentage that year? It might be 25%. So that would mean 25% of your sales goes to pay your wages. Have a look at what it has been like for the first quarter of this year then. If you're running at 36, 37%, something is wrong. You need to look at it. Have your sales fallen dramatically? Have you got your pricing wrong? Have you given wage increases where maybe you couldn't afford it? That's, excuse me, that sort of thing. So these sort of metrics are easy enough to do once you get them every month. Your debtors days is another key thing. So if you allow a period of credit to your customers, on average, how quickly do they pay you? Is it 30 days? Is it 14 days? Is it 90 days? And like everything, and I'll mention it again later in the talk, but I think it's a great example of using figures over time. Is we've all got so accustomed to watching the COVID figures on the news. We know the number of ICU beds in use. We know the number of tests, the positivity rate on the tests. Any one day on its own is useless. You've no frame of reference. 2 or 3 days is better. But when you've been tracking this thing every day with the last year nearly, the way things are going, and you can kind of predict where they're going to go. Same thing with your business. If you're looking at these figures every month consistently, after a couple of months, you start to get a feel for how the business is doing, what needs to be tweaked to make these margins better. And that's why I think monthly KPIs are a very important benefit of having up-to-date accounts. simple things then, just like chasing debtors, so if you're not using an accounting system, if you're only using Excel to keep a list of your sales invoices that you've issued, it's a chore to log in every time to see, well, who owes me what and when is their due date, and how, maybe they paid last week. I better check my online banking. Did they pay? No, they didn't. I'll send them an email or I'll ring them. If you have an accounting system that's kept up to date, you run your report. Who owes me what? Run a report and filter it by who's overdue. If there's 3 or 4 invoices that they owe you, send them a statement. Polite email that goes out at the first week of every month. This is what you owe me, and these are the lists of the invoices. So kind of a big effect on cash flow if you're on top of your debtors. Same thing like paying suppliers. So if it's a job at the end of the month, you're paying your suppliers, and you do that based on a pile of invoices you have in the corner. That, oh yeah, I must pay them now, or you're waiting for the overdue stamp to come in on a copy of the invoice. Much better if you can plan your cash flow. You have a list of who you owe because it's there in your accounting system, and you can start making those payments. Same thing with ordering stock. All this is streamlined when you're using a software package. Cash flow forecasting. So this was always important, but I think since we've gone into the what I call, say, well, that might be a bit ambitious calling it post-COVID economy, but we will, please God, be in a post-COVID economy maybe next year, you could say, and it's going to be difficult times, because people have borrowed a lot. There's been a lot of supports from government that people will have to wean themselves off of. So the cash flow that's coming into your business and being able to predict that is very important. Again, you don't want to go with your gut on that, and you don't want to be pulling out a piece of paper or an Excel sheet every month or two when you just get stressed about, oh God, what's it going to be like in 3 months' time now? You need up-to-date figures to do that, and there's an application that links in with some of the online accounts called Float, which I'll talk a little later on in the talk, and it makes things, it really brought it home to me, the value of having up-to-date figures. When some of our clients started to get into trouble last April and May, their sales fell off a cliff and they were looking for supports. Linked to that as well, if you are applying for finance or grant applications, nowadays they won't entertain the application unless you've up-to-date accounts. So here we are, today is the 9th of February, and if you're looking for any sort of loan now, the first thing that your bank will ask you is, well, can I see your 2020 accounts? You're onto your accountant. How is my 2020 accounts looking? And they say, well, you need to give us the information. So you're gathering bank statements, putting your VAT returns together and everything, and you're looking at months until you get it. Whereas if you have everything up to date, within maybe 2 or 3 hours work, you can have a decent set of management accounts, and the bank won't look for your final signed off 2020 accounts now. A set of management accounts will do them. Same thing if you're looking for grants from the local enterprise office, Enterprise Ireland, you're going to need these up-to-date figures. So again, you don't want to be stuck with panic stations that you need a set of accounts to do your grants. Anticipate that, have your books up to date, and it won't be stress for you. Also, we've seen the government supports, particularly the wage subsidy schemes that are there. They're all contingent on your sales being down by a certain percentage, and it's based over a period of time. Like the last 6 months of 2019 is taken as a basis period for, is your sales for the next 6 months going to be down by 30%? If you don't have accounts that are more or less kept up to date every month, it's really hard for you to do that, because you are obliged, if you're on these schemes, to stop up at the end of the month and check, well, is my sales more than 30% down? If not, you have to jump off the scheme. So again, more than ever, you need ways to keep your accounts up to date, and Excel just doesn't cut it. The other thing that's really important is, which I think is a monthly budget. Budget is a kind of a dirty word. Maybe people always think of tax increases, or if you're an accountant, you think of more work. Can I get a budget in place? You're going, oh God, that's really hard to do. But it doesn't have to be. A budget is a target. I think it's a better word. So you have your target by month for the coming year. Look at your figures from last year. Add 10%, take off 10%, have a look, but do it by month, and just have a target. What do I need to sell each month to get to my target here? What should my wages be each month? And pick another metric of your business, like maybe advertising. If you're in a customer acquisition type business where you have to spend a lot of online advertising, maybe to get people to sign up for your product, how much can I afford to spend each month? And track it. It's easy to get a budget into an online accounting software. And if you're keeping it up to date, run your budget report. A week after the end of the month, I budgeted to spend $2,000 in advertising. I'd spent 3. What went wrong? Have a look at it, and then you'll know for next month, maybe cut back a bit on the advertising. So I think it's very important that you can have budgets for your business, because those are your targets, and it gives you great confidence if you're meeting your budgets, or if you fall short, that you do corrective action soon, and then you get back on track with your budgets again. So that's the end of part 1, which is the kind of the overview of why you should invest time in up-to-date bookkeeping. Just going to have a look at the chat box there, and Angie, maybe you might pop in if we have any queries at this point.
No questions so far, but if anyone has a few, they can pop them in, or you can unmute yourself as well and ask your question if you like.
Okay, great. Well, look, I'll be pausing again at the end of part 2 if you have any other questions. So just, Angie, if someone does type something in the chat box, you might let me know if that's okay. So
No problem.
Moving on to part 2, right, which is what are the apps, right? So this is where I start listing the apps that we use, ones that I know about, and just before I show you the list of them as well, I'd just like to make it clear that this isn't like a advertising for any one of them. These are just the apps that I use myself and that I've come across, and I apologize if there are other great apps out there that I haven't come across. Find what's right for your business, So how can these applications help? So what can they do, right? So automating the data entry, we discussed that as being a pain point. What do I mean by that, right? So bank feeds, basically, that's where your online accounting software talks to your online banking and it pulls in your bank transactions, generally maybe a day or two after they happen, which is really a time saver from a bookkeeping point of view. I mean, there are people out there still typing in all their bank lines, the date, the narrative, the amount, the debit or the credit. So bank feeds make a huge difference in terms of your data entry. There's OCR, which stands for optical character recognition invoice reading. So pieces of software that you take a picture of your purchase invoice and you read it, and that helps then by time saving, but also because you've then taken a picture of the invoice, a scan of that lives inside your accounting software. So you no longer have to revisit those paper folders that you used to create. Anywhere, any device access, I think is vital. I think bookkeeping needs to be done in bite-sized chunks, not that kitchen table with paper everywhere at the end of the month or at the end of every 2 months. If you invest an hour or two a week regularly, every week in it, you'll keep it up to date. I think that's important. But also by investing an hour or two every week, you need to help yourself by making sure you can get into it easier. So I think if you're solely relying on a PC in your spare room at home or whatever that you have to fire up to kind of do an hour's bookkeeping, I don't think that's reliable. Or I think it's off-putting. I use a tablet myself. As an accountancy practice, we live in a Windows world. I use a Windows PC, but I have an iPad that I use hugely when I'm kind of minding my own books, not working on clients. I need to do my own books as well. So, if I'm sitting on the couch on a Monday or a Tuesday night and my wife is watching Operation Transformation, I'll pull out the iPad. Within 3 seconds, I'm in there and I'm able to do a good 30 minutes of just keeping my books up to date. A lot of this is routine stuff that you just get used to. So think about any device access. Consider accessing it from even your mobile phone. We've clients in the trades, plumbers and carpenters and electricians. They're on the road a lot, and their van, they're raising their sales invoices from their smartphone. So you don't feel tied to your laptop or your PC to do your bookkeeping. Find a device that lets you get into it, and all the apps I'm about to show you are cloud-based, so you can access them from any device. I've touched already on the sharing information between the client and the accountant, so that's key as well. By having these things in the cloud, it allows you to ask your accountant to log in and have a look. Or you might even have a relationship where you pay for a quarterly 1 hour session with your accountant. They log into your online accounting system. They've got the data in front of you, so they can give you good information. Linking to other systems is important as well. So it's not all just about the bookkeeping, depending on, say your accounting system can link to your till system. So that takes out a data entry step. So if you're a cash business, at the end of day report from your till, or if you can set it up your end of week or your end of month report, sent directly into your accounting system, that helps automate you recording your sales inside your accounting system. If you are an online seller, so your e-commerce system, this Shopify, WooCommerce, Magento, a lot of these systems will talk to your online accounting system as well. So it will pull in your sales. So it's not just standalone, the accounting system anymore. I don't mean standalone with just you can share it with your accountant or your external bookkeeper maybe, but you can share data with other applications as well. These are the apps here that I'm most familiar with, right? So I've divided them into 4 different lines. So the top line here is actual accounting systems themselves. So Xero is the one that we use. I've used it with the last 10 years. I know it inside and out. These are also good systems. The difference between these two, Xero and QuickBooks, is that these are large companies. They're global companies. They're in many different countries, so they have resources behind them. These two are our homegrown solutions. That gives advantages as well because they're tailored for the Irish market. So we've got Surf Accounts and Big Red Cloud. There are others as well, and forgive me if I'm not mentioning them. These are just the ones that I know. Please have a look yourselves. So there's advantages and disadvantages of going with each. Maybe you get more features here, but the downside is that they're not fully tailored for the Irish market, and you have to use workarounds to get your VAT return, or maybe you have to manually put your payroll figures into these. These are, you press your VAT return at the end of the 2 months, press your VAT return button here, and bang, it spits it out, and you can file it in revenue. So there's certainly advantages. Have a look at them for yourself. I will touch on something that, look, everyone who has heard or is considering Xero or is using it is the impact Brexit has had in that bank feeds. I spoke earlier about your accounting system being able to talk to your online banking and pull in your transactions. That went down because Xero is well, they're a New Zealand company, but their European HQ is in the UK, and they're very much focused on the UK. It's a massive market for them. The license they have to access banks was passported throughout Europe when they were part of the EU. Brexit ended all that, and they were no longer able to have the license to access Irish banks. So they're working on a solution. To be honest, I think they're dragging their heels, and I'm very disappointed with it. I feel myself it's going to be a matter of months rather than weeks before they've it fixed. So you're forced to just do a manual upload of your bank transactions. You're not typing it in, at least. You're just going onto your online banking maybe once a week, download your CSV file from IBB or whatever banking system you're using, and upload it to Xero. But it's a pain when you were used to it just magically appearing there. These others do have bank feeds, as far as I know. They're back up and running. So choose an accounting system. That's the center of your bookkeeping system, really, is where you do your accounts. Adding on to this, then, there's Receipt Bank and Auto Entry, 2 great products. What they do is they're beautifully simple. They convert your purchase invoices into data. Like, purchasing is always a very time-intensive part of the bookkeeping process. You're entering in the gross, the net, the VAT, the date, the category it goes into, whether it's office expenses or repairs or whatnot. These automate a huge amount of it. And I'll touch in a minute how Receipt Bank works, but Auto Entry works in the same way. And anyone that has maybe more than 10 purchase invoices a month, for me, it's a no-brainer. These things don't cost much more than 10 or 12 euro per month. It's so worth it for time saving. Then other more specific applications. So if you're an online retailer, you may sign up for Shopify. So that again links with these 2 accounting systems anyway. So again, like I said earlier, bring your online sales into it. Vend is a good till system. So if you're starting off and you want to use an iPad as a till, maybe with a cash drawer, Vend is great. It'll you plug in your sales to it. It'll keep track of your cash in and cash out, your end of day balance, and it'll send the information to your accounting system. Tradify, I've just put in here as an example as well. Don't just focus on the accounting if you're in business. What is your industry specific pieces of software that can help you? Tradify is for the people in the trades, like the plumbers and the electricians, the carpenters, maybe the small builders. It's like job management. It allows you to set up different jobs, track all the costs, get your employees to put their time on jobs, take pictures of progress reports. When you're raising sales to your customers in those projects, it gets put into your accounting system. So those are kind of industry specific apps. Apps that deal with payments and banking here, you've all heard of Stripe, so when you, excuse me, I think for all of these, when you send out a sales invoice from them, you can have a Stripe link at the bottom of it or a PayPal link. So your customers can just click and pay. Try and make your customers, make it easy for them to pay you. GoCardless is a great system in that it's by direct debit. So the same direct debit system that you pay your electricity, your gas, maybe your phone bill with, you can become a direct debit initiator as well. So you sign up for this, send an email to your customers, they accept it, enter their IBAN, and it's done. So you raise an invoice in your accounting software, email it to them, and GoCardless knows that, and it'll collect the value of the invoice on the due date of the invoice automatically without you having to do anything. Revolut as well, like I do think that the Irish banks have been extremely slow to roll out new technology. So using some of their online platforms, it's like looking at something that's more than 10 years old. I've been using Revolut Business myself for the last number of years. I've recommended it to clients. I think it's great. I think the application is great. I'd use it in conjunction maybe with a traditional bank, but there's no harm in having the regular transactions that you have flowing through Revolut. You get great exchange rates from it. You can, the bank feeds still work into your accounting system. That hasn't gone down because of Brexit. You can link it with Apple Pay. So, if you're paying for business purchases, use your Apple Watch or your phone. I'm pretty sure it links with Android Pay as well. So it's cheap to set up. Try it out for a couple of months. And I'm not promoting anything here for any commercial gain. These are just applications that I and a good group of my clients have used, and they find it makes their lives easier as business owners. Float is a cash flow software package where you, with a bit of work to set it up, you have a cash flow projection for the next 12 months for your business. And I'll go through an example in a minute how that's really helped clients. So this would be the applications I'd recommend, or the type of applications that you should be looking in your industry to look at. The purchasing, just to hammer home the point of how much of a time-saving thing it could be. This is how Receipt Bank works. So you just literally use your smartphone application, take a picture of it, hit submit, and it puts it into your accounting system, and it has read what's on the invoice down to the amount. So you're only approving it, and the scan leaves in your accounting system. So you can search, if you're wondering, geez, what was my Vodafone bill 2 years ago? It seems to have gone up a lot. Within a minute, you search on your accounting system, type in Vodafone, there's a list of all your previous invoices there, and the scan is attached to each one of them. So I really do recommend that if you've got, say, more than 10 or 12 invoices a month. The other very handy feature that this software has is that, the annoying problem of having to log in to get your own purchase invoices. For example, you get an email saying your bill is ready, but it's not attached to the invoice. You have to log into a portal, remember your password, download it, and that's your purchase invoice. Well, this saves you a job because you just enter in your login details once, say, for example, but your Google AdWords or Facebook advertising or LinkedIn or Office 365 or Google Docs subscription. You put in your login details on Receipt Bank once, and every month it'll automatically go into that portal and pull the invoice out for you. Again, if you're a time poor business owner, that's worth that 10, 12 euros a month there. And this is how it looks in your accounting system. So this is an example of something that I haven't touched. I know it's a little bit out of date now, but I had sent them the Vodafone invoice in, so it knew it was Vodafone. It put the date in, put the invoice reference. It knew, because I had told it a couple of years ago, always put Vodafone into telephone and internet, and it read the VAT. So all I had to do was send this into Receipt Bank, and then a couple of hours later, hit approve. Much easier than having this in front of me, typing in Vodafone, 1st of June, the amount, the VAT. So that's a big time saver. To finish off on this section here, excuse me, to do a bit of a case study on Float, right? So Float is a piece of software that links with Xero and QuickBooks and a couple of more, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time before Surf and Big Red Cloud are added to it. But it looks like a spreadsheet down here. So you start inputting what you expect your sales to be for the coming months. The real beauty here is, people always use Excel for cash flow forecasts. Accountants always use it. I've been using it for 19 years until I came across this product last April, when I was desperate to get a better solution in place for our clients who really needed visibility on how their business was going for the couple of months. So it links in my case, Xero, but it will link to other ones. It links in with Xero, and it pulls in your historic transactions. So pretend this is 2021 here, right? It's February. These are actuals in here. So actual money came in, actual money that went out. In the month of February, it's reading my open sales invoices in Xero by the due date. So it knows when the money is due into my bank account. So it's going to populate this box here. It's reading my purchase invoices, my creditors. When do I owe them? Is it in 14? Is it in 30 days time? Is it in 60 days time? It's putting that payment date in the correct column here for you. So it gives you a very accurate, and it really is surprisingly accurate in the 1 to 2 month area of the money that's going to go in and out of your business. If you're applying for a loan and you say, okay, I'm going to get that loan, I'm going to get it in May. It's 100,000. It's going to keep me going. You plug in 100,000 in the month of May here, and it updates your cash flow projection here, and you can see that, right, that 100,000 is going to last me until the end of the year or whatever. Further out, you enter in the data here. So by having up-to-date accounts, look at your 12 months last year. What did you spend on wages? What are your bank repayments like? What do you spend on rent? Plug all those figures in here. And I promise you, once you've spent a couple of hours getting this up to date, it only takes maybe half an hour to an hour max a week to keep it up to date. It wouldn't even take an hour, half an hour a week to keep this up to date. And the difference it made, we had a number of clients whose income virtually stopped in April, and they had a good, they had a good couple of years trading under their belt, so they had a couple of 100,000 in the bank account, but they were looking at no income for at least 12 months, and they were saying, well, how long is this going to take us? Should we pull the pin on it now? So we sat down with them. They agreed which staff that they were laying off, which ones maybe that were going on a wage subsidy scheme. Grants, Enterprise Ireland stepped in certain occasions. They were able to access the government-backed SBCI, which is the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland loans, low interest rate, 80% backed by the government, so they're easy to get. They're administered through the banks, so you talk to AIB, Ulster Bank, Bank of Ireland. They're not difficult to get, but our clients were getting these loans, so we were able to drop in where the income was here. So they have great confidence in looking at, okay, yeah, these expenses down here, yeah, they're realistic. So based on this, I know I will have a positive bank balance at the end of December 2021, which is huge peace of mind to business owners. And it's the only reason they kept going. Some of them had spent a lot of money on software developers, because they're in the middle of building projects and they just don't want to stop because there is going to be an end to COVID. Can they fund that 30, 40,000 a month to pay these development contractors to keep going and finish the contract? Yes, they can when they've got a cash flow in place. So have a look at that. If you really need good visibility on how your business is going to be for the next couple of months, it's a great piece of software. And I've no doubt that there are clients of ours that made a decision to keep going just because of having the software alone, that they were able to look at it and look at it every month. Because remember, it will overwrite your predictions with your actuals every month as well, coming in from zero, which is the real power of the spreadsheet. It doesn't go out of date. So that's the end of part 2. Talking a bit about the specific applications. I'll just open the chat box again there and see if anyone has any questions. Don't think so. So look, we'll jump into the third part, and look, if there are questions towards the end, you can ask them as well. This is smaller than the other 2 parts. I should be done in the next 7 or 8 minutes or so. So this is basically, what does a modern streamlined bookkeeping system look like? So what should you see after you've invested time in getting this up to date? So you'll have an online accounting system. That's a given. Choose the one that's right for you. You've moved away from Excel or sending out sales invoices by Word. You've got a purchase invoice reading system like AutoEnter, like Receipt Bank, to just take the heavy lifting out of putting in your purchase invoices. Your time is more valuable than that. And you've got bank feeds so that you're able to reconcile your transactions. And what I mean by that is all the money that comes into your account, you're matching them maybe to your sales invoices or grant income. All the money that goes out of your account, you're matching them to your purchase invoices, or if they're wages, you're coding them as a wage cost in your profit and loss account. And if you have your bank reconciled at the end of the month, you can run your profit and loss and see how your business has done for the month. You have a weekly and a monthly task sheet. So I mentioned earlier about bookkeeping and accounting being repetitive. It is. But the beauty of that is you're not reinventing the wheel. You don't have to learn something new each month. You know what you did last month. Maybe there was 1 or 2 issues. You tweak it and you do it better next month, and you do it better again the following month. So like every week, I think you should be doing your bank reconciliation. So by the end of the week, on a I don't know, call it a Sunday night, if you're a business owner like myself, you might log in for that half an hour and reconcile your week's transactions for the previous week. Approve all your purchases on a weekly basis. That's bite-sized bookkeeping. Go in, they'll be in there as a draft item already because you'll have taken a picture of it throughout the week. Approve, approve, approve. So your purchase invoices are going in there. And you'll obviously be issuing your sales invoices throughout the month. I don't think any business owner has a problem with issuing sales invoices. It's the reason you're in business, because that means you're getting paid. Then you have a monthly task sheet, right? So what are the standard things you should be doing on a monthly basis? Hopefully you're running payroll on a monthly basis. Some of you maybe you pay employees weekly or fortnightly. I try to recommend all clients. It's not always possible, but try and pay payroll monthly. It cuts down hugely on the work. You're doing things 12 times a year, not 52. I pay your suppliers monthly as well. Don't be paying them every time they call you, or let them call you 2 times. Have a structure to it. Say, for example, pick the 20th of the month, for example. So on the 20th of the month, you do a pay run and you pay the previous month's invoices, something like that works for you. And then anyone that queries, any chance of getting paid, or when am I going to get paid? You say, yeah, we do a pay run. It's the 20th of the month. You'll be on it. So again, you're not pulling out your online banking file or that digicard reader or whatnot every week to do it. I think a monthly pay run for suppliers should be sufficient, and that's what the big operators do. You can chase late payers every month as well. So you're sending statements of account to people. Again, you can only do that if you have an accounting system. Send polite email reminders, with late invoices. All that can be done on a monthly basis. Print your profit and loss account. Start learning what your metrics are. Compare it to last month, last year, last quarter, and over time build up an understanding of the figures of your business. Check in with your accountant then at least quarterly, and you can do that now because you know what your business, how your business is doing. You've got the figures. So you should be familiar with. Your accountant should be familiar with accounting system. I think that's less of a problem now. Before, there was loads of them on the market. There's a lot of desktop legacy systems there. I think accounting firms are slowly moving towards, right, we need to maybe be Xero or be Surf or be Beerware Cloud or be QuickBooks, so that they and their staff are trained in the system, so their clients can just ring them and say, look, I've all the information in there. Can you let me know how I did, and maybe have a discussion for an hour on it. But that should be part of your business every quarter. Check in with your accountant, or maybe you've got an experienced bookkeeper, or even look at it could be a family friend or a parent who just knows the business world. Show them your profit and loss account, show them your figures, show them some of your metrics, and have a chat with someone about it. The other thing, like I mentioned earlier, right, the COVID has made us obsessed with tracking numbers, right? And I've done it all my working life, but I think the general public are getting used to it now. So by looking at the same thing week after week and month after month, you get a feel for what way the figures are going, what is good, what is bad. Is the direction going up? Is the direction going down? So the metrics of your business that you should be tracking, in my opinion. So within 2 weeks at the end of the month, what was your sales? Easy enough. How was my sales this month? How was it last month? What is it year to date? If you're looking at it in April, how was the first 4 months this year versus the first 4 months last year? If you're using an accounting system, you'll have that report within 30 seconds. Are your debtors growing though? Yes, you've made more sales, but are people taking more time to pay you? So how much am I owed at the end of this month? Okay, I'm owed 40 grand. I was owed 60 grand on average for the last couple of months. So great, money is coming in a bit faster. Your gross margin, I spoke to you about the importance of that earlier, depending on the business that you're in. That shows how profitable is there waste in the kitchen of my business? Am I paying too much for the stock that I'm bringing in? Look at your wages as a percentage of sales, your open orders, for example, just track these metrics. As I say, they're not going to mean much to you the first or the second or even the third month, but if you're looking at them consistently, you'll get that feel for how your business is. Cost of acquisition is important for SaaS-based customers or people in software as a service to spend a lot of money in marketing to kind of get that customer in there, but the cost of keeping them is cheap, the cost of getting them isn't. So if you spent 5,000 in marketing last month and you acquired 5 customers, well, my customer acquisition cost this month is 1,000 per customer. And if you're tracking that, you'll learn to see, is that going up or is that going down? So look, those are where you kind of what you see when you do have a modern system. I think the login from anywhere is great. I don't know how many of us live within 5 kilometers of a beach or in a climate like this at the moment, but it would be nice. That's what I'm talking about, is the dipping in and dipping out of it. Get a device that you can just do half an hour here, 20 minutes there, whatever. you spend less time bookkeeping, less time on that boring job of data entry, which just puts a lot of people off this. You can do it anywhere, anytime. You as a business owner, you don't have time to you don't have a full day to set aside to keep your books up to date, but you will find 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there, and that's a good time to do it. You'll have the peace of mind of having met your deadlines easy. The revenue give you 23 days to file your VAT return. That's more than enough time if you've got an accounting system that's up to date. And like I said earlier, the financial metrics of your business are vital. And then you make better business decisions. I think that's what it all boils down to. If you've got the metrics of your business in your head, you can feel how it's going up or down. You decide, okay, I'm actually not going to hire. I'm going to get rid of these 3 customers because I'm losing money on them, and I'm going to wait a while to hire that new person. Or else, the other side of it is, yeah, our sales have been going up, cash in the bank is going up, our margins are good, our wages as a percentage of sales is falling down to 21-22%. Yeah, I can hire that new sales manager. You make better business decisions with up-to-date data. And that's it. So look, that if anyone with any questions or answers, I know that Pamela has typed a question there. So do we use Xero for statutory accounts? We don't, Pamela. No. We did try about 2 years ago when they brought in FRS 105, the micro reporting. I thought, it's a small enough set of financial statements that we could use Xero's reporting for it. But no, I mean, the technical wording in company law was just, we do our trial balance and we do management accounts in Xero, but we then export to, well, the one we use is Relate Accounts Production for our statutory accounts.